Wonderful. All right. Well, wonderful. Thank you for joining us tonight, everyone. I know as you're coming on, you possibly have questions. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll make sure you get those answered. I'll try to remember to remind you to do that as we're going along too. But we have a special guest for you tonight. Claudia is joining us. Claudia is from Canada. She owns her own coaching company called Artemis Fitness, which is a really freaking awesome name, by the way.
Nice.
But she's coming in to talk with us a little bit tonight about how we can better be able to enjoy food and holidays and events and, not have to be crazy and worry about the outcome of eating foods that we enjoy. So thank you for making time to join us tonight, Claudia. I'm going to kind of turn it over to you a little bit so that you can share with us the information. I'm super excited for you to share.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. This is awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, I want to talk about that subject because I was the kind of person before who was really restricting myself a lot so I can eat at bunch at night or at the dinner somehow. So, and it makes me a lot of, it makes it all worse, So at that moment I had an eating disorder when I was younger as well. I had orthorexia. So for those who don't know what it is, it's like you want to eat too much healthy that is scary. So yeah. So I was not enjoying really food at that moment. And because it was too much you always think about food. And when you go in a holiday, you want to spend your moment with your friends and your family. And you don't want to think about what food's doing to you, what is going to uh like break your diet or something like that. Not at all. You can manage it in your week. You can do lots of things to not be awful like you think day, this one day. So yeah, so that's what brings me there.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point because a lot of people do stress over that about, having a bigger meal or going on a trip with their family and think that it's going to undo all of their progress when really
Right.
that's not true. So I'm super excited for us to dive into this a little more tonight.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
so when you were younger, you had orthorexia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was I was binge eating a lot because I was really restricting. So what was the worst is I was okay eating not enough as well. So I was eating 10, I was eating 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories and uh no sugar, no fat, no anything, just really just straight vegetables and meat and things like that. And at night I had cravings so bad that I could eat whatever was in my
Mm.
my food, how you call it in English, sorry, my
So like
fridge, whatever.
yeah.
So yeah, so and then I was binge eating so much, and my stomach will hurt and I had digestion problem and things like that. And now I feel so free because I can eat whatever I want
Mhm.
and be okay. It's not that if it fits your macros, okay, but it's if you want to indulge a little bit that day, it's okay. You can do a day with a little bit less calorie, not restricting yourself, but just cutting into the week. If you know that that day you'll eat more, maybe do 100 calorie deficit more the days, and it gets you more freedom that day. And I wasn't understanding all of this for sure. So now, yes, I have more freedom about it, and it feels so great.
Right. So is that a strategy that you implement now to restrict just a little during the week before an event like that, and then you don't have to worry if you're over consuming?
Yes, for sure. And just a little bit, not I'm not eating all weekend and indulging the weekend. Just a little thing that you won't even see, 100 calories is nothing. So you can literally do that. And at the weekend, you're all good for Thanksgiving or for Christmas, and spend day with your family and be for sure happy there and not thinking about food. And what's really important too is that you eat before. because like that you won't be like too much of because the greatest thing is like you don't eat all day, so you're like, okay, I'm okay tonight, but what's going to do is gonna like ruin your hormones with your food, is so you won't be able to know when you're not hungry anymore. So like that, you will mostly overeat, even if you hadn't eat like that all day or feeling sick because your stomach was like so empty. So
Mm.
what I tell my clients to do is to eat like mostly your protein in the morning, like that. You're sure that you have your protein intake and mostly vegetable too. So you can keep afterwards all your carbs and all everything for dessert there. And just to be sure to have a good relationship with it. Because if you tell yourself that it's a bad food, that you can't have it, or all of those things, it's just gonna be worse because you're gonna like fall into it and not just be like, okay, let's have like a little dessert and that'll be it and that'll be so fun, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I think that that's super important that you mentioned that you have to enjoy it. So it's still being mindful. It's not like,
Yeah,
just because we've saved some calories, so we have a calorie budget that we can play with for the weekend, doesn't mean that it's then a free for all.
yeah.
Right.
No, exactly. You still need to have your protein that day, and you still need to. My other trick is to move during that day too. If you know that you're gonna have like a dinner somehow, you can go to the gym or take a walk also. So it's gonna help you like move out a little bit those calories as well. And it's important to have your micronutrient that day too. So don't forget that it's important. And really, it's good for the holidays, but it's good like whenever you want. If you always say no to yourself, one day you won't be able to do that. And you're really gonna like fall into it, like I said. If you said yes to you a little bit, like a portion that is really reasonable, that's gonna be more likely that you're gonna stick to your diet anyway, too. So I was remembering myself hiding from I don't know who, but with like chocolate or things like that, eating so fast, not being conscious of it, not even having fun, and just like feeling shitty afterwards. So just if you say yes to yourself and say, okay, I'm gonna eat that, I'm gonna be happy, it's gonna be a good moment with my friends and families, it's gonna be really a lot better than just not being mindful when you eat it. It's not even gonna be fun. So
Right. Yeah, the mindfulness piece is huge because
yeah.
we could, and sometimes, if you've grown up in that kind of culture where you're used to restricting things and you're used to
Mhm.
labeling foods good or bad or whatever, there
Yeah.
can be that tendency that then, you do allow yourself to have something that you consider bad, but then you don't enjoy it because you're just mindlessly eating it. And then that
Exactly.
starts that whole cycle of guilt and shame and thinking that you have to restrict and that you have to exercise and to work off and negate that bad food. It's really a horrible cycle.
Exactly. It's very different to be mindful to like have a walk that day or exercise because you know it's gonna happen, or to do it after all because you feel bad. This is so different. Looks the same, but in your mindset, it's so different because you're not doing it for your body. You're doing it like to play opposite to your body. I don't know if we can say it like that, but it's really important to work with your body because like that, it's really going to work for the long term. And that's what you want at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that works long term. Because I heard this the other day and it's so applicable and I don't know why I've ever never thought of this, but like when we're working on ourselves, right? And every woman that's been on a diet is working on herself, but
Yeah.
there's no end game. There is not an end to this. You will not go on a diet. It will not be magic and just give you what you want with no effort. There's no end to this. So whatever method that you're utilizing to reach the end goal has to be something that is sustainable or your results cannot be sustainable. And so you'll
Right.
just end up on some other thing. And then we have that roller coaster, that up and down and up and down. And that's not sustainable at all. But unfortunately, that's where the vast majority of women live.
Yeah, because you think, okay, I'm doing this for a month and then I can go back to my other habits, which brought you there. So you have to change those, and you can mostly do it at your rhythm. That's the most important thing. And restricting it all like for a long time, it's gonna have some issues out there because you're gonna miss like some. It's okay to miss a party or whatever, but if you miss like birthdays of your family, or if you miss holidays, or if you're not gonna stick to it because you're gonna think it's gonna suck that much. So you're gonna be like, okay, that's over. That's too hard for me. But it's not like it's not obligated to be that hard. Like you can just decide to do it for a longer term, and that's gonna be okay. And you can still enjoy food that you like. And what I really love to tell my clients is that there's always a healthier version to do it too. Like you can go on a Christmas and have some dessert. You're not obligated to eat all of the dessert. You can have one
Mhm.
and still have fun. Like that's how, if you're not restricting yourself, then you say, oh, I had that and that was okay. Most of my clients came and they're like, I can have food at my home that is not healthy because I'll binge on it and blah, blah, blah. And now they're just like, yeah, I took 2 pieces of chocolate and that was enough. And that's not like me. Yeah, because it's not like a wrong thing now. It's just okay. So if you go to a restaurant, you can take a small portion of something and not take the biggest ice cream you have there or something like that. You can take a small portion also.
Right. So how do you get the clients to arrive at that different outcome? So instead of them feeling like they have to have all of the dessert, how do they get to that point where just a little bit of chocolate is fine?
So the most important thing is in the beginning when I say to them that they can eat a lot more than they actually do.
Ah, right.
So, because if you have craving that bad that you can stop yourself, it's really your body saying, hey, you don't give me enough and I will get it. So, most of my clients, I just ask them to eat more and they're like, oh, and so they eat more of the good food. They
Mhm,
have the micronutrient there and they're like, oh, maybe I want to have a little like candy or something, but I don't need it like I
mhm,
was because I had like my stomach is still full and I'm not always craving on some things. And the most part is to say that they can get it, like to not say no to themselves. Because we're even if we're adults, we're still kids. If somebody say no to us, we're gonna do it. So just don't
so
say no. Just say yes, but with like you said, mindfulness. And really, if you eat, like my trick was really to say, okay, if you have a pack of like cookies there, if you say yes to yourself to eat all of the cookies there, you won't, right? But if you say, okay, just one, oh no, just one, okay, no, no, last one, maybe you'll eat it all because you won't be mindful of it. So what I say to my client is like, first of all, find if it's emotional why you're eating that way. If it's because you have like an emotion or something, try to just go aside. Try to just change your mind. Do something that you love for 15 minutes, 5 to 15 minutes. If you feel you still have that craving, then eat it and just give yourself the right to eat it. And then they like, oh, I eat a lot less when I do that. Yeah, because you're mindful, like tasting what it really tastes like. What's the textures? What's the color? What it smell like? Just to be really there in the moment. And that will help a lot too.
that's an excellent tip for mindfulness. That's really, really good. Yeah, we like to use a food journal. So like being
Yeah.
yeah, being really aware of, how you're feeling before you want this specific food.
Yeah.
If you're able to, rationalize why you want it. And sometimes
Hmm.
then you can decide, well, maybe I don't really want it. And maybe whatever need I'm feeling is best fulfilled by doing something else, or sometimes being around someone else. And they're,
Yeah.
it's just a habit to soothe yourself with whatever food is. Well,
Yes,
your food
exactly.
preference. Yeah, is what it boils down to. Yes,
That's
but
powerful.
it's that awareness piece, and I think it's excellent that you can go outside and find that too.
Yeah. Yeah, because mostly if we're emotional, it's gonna
Mhm.
go away. And if it's not, what I love to tell my clients that you have the healthier version of what you want. Like
Mhm.
I love mug cakes, which is
Oh
like
yeah.
full of protein. So tastes like dessert, good for you.
Mhm.
Why not having that? If you feel like having a pizza, why you don't do with yourself with like a tortilla and like a good cheese, which is a lot of protein in it, and like chicken, which is better than like salami or something, pepperoni or something like that. So you can always eat what you want, but the healthier version as well.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Making those small choices to have foods that are just a little bit better goes a really long way. And then that's something that you can also build on. So,
Yeah.
in those small steps so that it's not such a drastic change, which then goes back to that more sustainable life that you're looking for.
Exactly. And like the one thing that is really important is like now you crave those foods because your bacteria in your gut
Mhm.
want it. If you stop giving it that much because you won't feel like it, you will like not want them and at the same rate also. And just me, I love dessert, but sometimes it's really too much of sugar. But before I can eat it all, but for now, I really taste the sugar now because
Oh,
I
yeah.
eat a lot better. So it will change, but it takes a long time. And you're gonna love the process in that way, or you will not feel really good all along because diet sucks, but you have to make it like really enjoyable. And if you don't, you're gonna fall off and come back and fall off and come back. And that's where that yo-yo dieting is coming from. And that's real most likely diminish your metabolism, blah blah blah. I'm sure your client know that. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we talk about metabolism a lot and how the chronic dieting really negatively impacts that. But I think it's super important to mention that how negatively it impacts the gut as well, because I think that's
Yes.
something people don't even think about. And suddenly they have these food intolerances or
Yeah.
sensitivities, and they're like, every time I eat broccoli or every time I have beans, my gut gets all swollen and I'm all bloated, and it's because of that just the imbalance in the gut. It has a bigger word, but I forgot.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good word for it.
For sure. So we've got some people on Facebook. Thanks for joining us. If you have questions, drop them in the chat because we can see those and we'll get those answered for you. But I wanted to ask Claudia, so say that someone does kind of overdo it on, at a holiday or at an
Mhm.
event or something, or
Yeah.
a binge happen. So then what would be your top advice to someone post doing something like that?
Do not try to make out for it. Like it has happened. Just accept it. And the most important thing is to learn why that has happened. So now that mistakes became something that you can learn on it and maybe not doing it again afterwards. It's really important because just why I did that time. Okay. So did I use my trick? Yeah, that won't work. So maybe can you find another one for next time? And that makes you learn on yourself. And like I was a lot of binging before, and I recall always have to eat when I was coming home, always. But it was just a habit. So at some point I was like, okay, now I need to wait an hour. And if I'm still hungry, I will eat whatever I want to eat at that time. So it's really to learn yourself. And most of the part, I wasn't hungry. I was
Mhm.
just a habit. So it's really important to just learn why you did that and not to be harsh on yourself because you're not with your body when you're doing that. You're like just hitting on yourself and that won't help because will you talk like that to another person? No. So why you're talking like that to yourself? You need to be there for you and you need to be compassionate because you're going to be more and more better at this. But you can be perfect on one day. Like, were you perfect when you started walking? No. Did you stop walking? No, right? So it's gonna be like shitty in the beginning, but just learn why it was like that and then continue your journey and you're gonna be good, good, and better and better and better. But if you keep like hitting on yourself because of it, it won't get better.
That's true. Yeah, the self-talk part is huge. And I
Yeah.
don't think that a lot of people realize just how much of an impact that has.
Yeah. It's so powerful that, you know, the person you want to be, the most important thing is to be like more and more the person you want to be and not less the person you don't want to be. Because you
Mhm.
can't work on being less something,
That's true.
but you can work on being more of something else. So just focus on like little things that you're doing, little wins. Oh, I can more and more say no to food. So I'm more and more like trusty with myself. I have more trust with me. And then it's going to be more and more like that. So it's really important to not focus on being less of someone who eats not healthy food, less of whatever, being more of something.
Right. No, that's some excellent advice. Being more of something. Because you cannot hate yourself or your body into any kind of change.
No, exactly. So it's really important to want to be like the greatest version of yourself and just ask you "W- why, like, what the greatest version of myself will do now.
Right.
And think about that. And sometimes you're like, oh, I won't make that choice. Well, that's good. Great. And you're more and more that person.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love thinking like that.
No, that's fantastic. Because then you're living more in alignment with yourself.
Yeah,
And it makes everything so much, well, so much easier.
exactly. Because you're like better have you'll have less negative emotion if you have
Mhm.
less negative emotion. You have less emotional eating. You have less emotional eating. You stick more to your diet and you have better results. So you think it's like, oh, those things, voices in my head, blah, 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 not like what I want. I just want a diet. Yeah, but it comes from the inside
Mhm.
before, and
Right.
then the outside come with.
Yes. Yeah, the outside is always just a byproduct of our intention and of our actions. And
Exactly.
yeah, it's silly, I think, to think that you can achieve lasting change on the outside without changing anything on the inside.
No, because you're gonna come back to where you were
Exactly.
at the first place. You have to change your identity, and your last identity must die. Like maybe not die, but like if you want to change, you have to change it all. Not in one day, it's not gonna
Mm,
happen, but like just to be sure to do those little baby steps that you think it's nothing. Maybe you
mhm,
have some affirmation in your bathroom in the morning. Maybe all of those kinds of things that just make you change your pattern, which you always repeat in yourself. And then you're gonna be more happy at the end, not just happy in your body, but in your mind also. That's so freaking important.
yes, I agree 1000%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we don't have any questions on Facebook so far. So if you do have questions, drop them in. We've got Claudia for a few more minutes, and she's happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. Um, I was going to ask you something, but it slipped out of my mind. The advice that you gave for post a binge or post going off plan or whatever is invaluable, and that's what we tell our clients too. Like you you ate whatever, so what? There is really nothing we can do
Yeah.
about it. Nothing. So accept what you did, get back on track, drink your water, eat your food. Do not go to the gym and do 3 hours of cardio or
No.
stupid. um, and it does nothing. It does nothing. It does not fix it. It does not negate it. It doesn't do anything. But if
No.
you accept it, like you said, and then move on to understand why that happened in the first place.
Yeah, that's so important because at the end, if you like try to make out for it, you're gonna like have more cravings
Mhm.
at the end. So it's just gonna be a cycle of you restricting, binging, restricting, binging, restricting, binging. So that's not what you're gonna do. Like like we said, you can prepare for it,
Mhm.
but you can't make up for it after. That's so different. And you won't get fat in one day.
No, oh, that's a good
One
point.
pound of fat is 3,500 calories. Okay, so you have to eat 3,500 calories more than you burn up that day. So even if you take 1 pound, that would be a shitload of food
Mhm.
in one day. Like that's mostly not even possible. So you making it worse is gonna be make me worse at the end of the week if you continue to do this like that. But just
Right.
one day, it won't do anything. Maybe you won't lose weight that day, but you stay at your weight. What if you don't take weight in the holidays but stay at the same weight? Is it better than last year where you like put 5 pounds maybe or something like that all month? If you stay at the at the same weight, it's still better. So sometimes you forget like what your old self were doing and you say, oh, I'm doing some progress here. So don't forget who you were in the beginning, like where you are now. That's so important.
That is super important. And I think that a lot of people, including myself, have a tendency to forget that, like where we
Yeah,
came from.
exactly. Because you're like, no, I'm that superwoman now.
Yeah,
I must not
exactly.
do that. Yeah, but you remember 6 months ago?
Mhm.
Like you want to even go to the gym or something like that, maybe. So just be compassionate with yourself. Be your best friend. And at the end, it's going to help you so much more than just hitting on yourself. That just don't help.
No, no, it doesn't. So I think
Yeah.
that's some super invaluable advice. All right. Well, we have some more on Facebook, but still no questions. So thank you for your time tonight, Claudia. I really enjoy you making the time to visit with us and to share some information. I think it was
Yes.
super valuable, and it was really nice to have you join us this evening.
Thank you for inviting me. It was really an honor. And if your people have some questions for me, I'll be like really happy to answer it. As after all, if you want to like ask me or whatever, and so happy that you invited me in your group there. And I hope that you get some valuable information that night, and just that your clients will take care of yourself and just stick with you also to help them in your holidays.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So when I get the video back up in Facebook, I'll just tag you in it. So then if someone has questions, they can just ask you directly.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, wonderful. We've got some thank yous on Facebook. So if they are paying
Oh, you're welcome.
wonderful. Glad you guys found it valuable. Thank you again so much for your time tonight, Claudia. I really appreciate it.
It's a
You for
pleasure.
taking the time coming in and sharing such great value with everyone. Uh,
Yes, it's a pleasure. Have a nice night.
you too. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.